So we started thinking about this project in the midst of the financial crisis in 2008, and we were looking at how people manage their own money. But at the end of the day, the question was, why do we keep on doing this? Why do we keep on getting into debt? Why do we have a problem understanding our own financial space? And there's not that there's a shortage of professed helpers. There's a hell of a lot of books that gets written, smart, get-rich-quick schemes, but we don't think they're working, right? You get these smart advisors, the people in this building, you go to them and they open their laptop and they tell you what to do, but somehow it's not sustainable. And inevitably they ask you to do some spreadsheet of sorts. And even if you do that, how does it actually help you become smarter about your money? There's a lot of bloggers, I know some of them in the room, giving you the most awesome advice, but most of the time we end up just ignoring things, right? But we do this, right? We just put our heads in the sand, and with the explosion of the web, there's a lot of tools that came out, commentary about how do we get smarter and helping people their own financial status. But surely, how effective is this? We started asking ourselves. Is this really going to help us get smarter, speaking to these people, listening to these people? Because the problem is, not every one of us think binary. We don't just think for once and zeros. We do some stupid things. Don't think linearly. We're emotional. You have accidents. You don't plan for these things to happen. Before they happen, then you really get stupid. And even smart people do awesome. So that was the starting point. If the professed helpers and advisors we have out there, is that really effective to get us to be smarter? Surely there's a gap to be filled. Surely there's a different way to look at money that is not just linear, it's not about spreadsheets, but it embraces the fact that we are humans that are emotional, we do stupid things, we do unexpected things. So we thought we had another way. And it all started about the world of BS. What you thought? And behavioral economics is also not a new thing, but it's a bit of a sexy topic as well. But the grandfathers of behavioral economics is two guys, Daniel Kahneman and the late Amos Tversky. Daniel Kahneman was the first man that started putting things down about how do we, as human beings, continue to do things that are almost irrational. So he published this paper called the prospect theory, and the problem is the thinking is profound, the thinking is very valuable, but quite hard to make out what the hell they're talking about. But there are guys that started to communicate the value of behavioral economics and behavioral sciences a lot smarter. And one of them was a bit of a rock star by the name of Dan Ariely. And he was the first behavioral economist that started to translate this into easily understandable science. So in my previous life, I was a bit of a salesman, and I had to do my best salesman job to get Dan to work with us. And we spent some time with the faculty to understand what behavioral economics is about and how it affects us normal human beings as far as our financial decision making is concerned. But the essence of what we learned from Dan is the principle of mental accounting, how we are wired as human beings to think in real odd shortcuts in life, specifically like money. Now, imagine you go to buy a motor car for 200,000 rand, and the salesman says for extra 5,000 rand, you have leather seats. So how many people here will take that leather seats? Most people very easily spend the extra 5,000 rand when they buy a motor car for 200,000 rand. The same person walks down the street to buy a lounge suite for 2,000 rand, and the salesman says, well, for an extra 5,000 rand, you can have a leather lounge. Most people say no. Alright? The fact that they're going to sit in the lounge suite far more, they can sleep on it, make out on it, do a hell of a lot more on the lounge suite than they do in the car seats. People still don't do that. So that's one example of how we do this mental accounting. But this resonates quite easy when you remind people of doing it. We still do it all the time. There's umpteen examples of how we are seriously dwarfed when it comes to making money decisions. And then the other thing that Dan started sharing with us was this fantasy of free. We all love this free notion. We all, even though we know there's no such thing as a free lunch. And even in the web space that most of us play in, whenever you have a free app or a free service, you know that you're part of the product. Right? Some of that, I was selling some of the information to do, but we know that, but we still love the fact that something's for free. So we're wired for this instant gratification, for this really easy gains. And there's a lot more, as I said, in this mental accounting that I can share, but fundamentally, it is hardwired into our DNA. So the more we started to understand about behavioral economics and how we are as animals thinking in a specific way, how on earth are we going to then start thinking differently about our money? Because spreadsheets just doesn't cut it. So again, now we're getting smart, we're learning all, I think we're getting smart, we're learning all these insights, nothing new, but we learn how it impacts our financial decision making. So how do you translate this now into a service? How do you make it easy for people to understand and not that it feels like homework? So I met a lady called Katie Salem, who's a professor of design at Parsons School of Design in New York. She is also the leader of a school called Quest to Learn. Quest to Learn is a public school in New York. They started in 2007. They threw away the entire normal curriculum and to replace the way of teaching kids using the psychology of play. And that includes how you learn about science, about maths, about biology. They use the entire principle of how kids are dying to get home and get involved in video games and playful things, but they've got to wait to get to leave school, right? One thing they do, they don't, for instance, they don't write exams. Katie said, you know, exams are such a Darwinian thing. You cram for an exam that you have to write, you sweat, you nervous, you write the exam, if you're lucky, you pass, you forget 3 months down the line what you've learned, and if you fail the exam, you've got this black mark against you, so it doesn't really inspire kids to demonstrate how much they've learned. So how they've changed that Quest to Learn is they've devised an avatar for every subject, and the avatar knows less than the child knows at that stage about the subject. And the kid needs to teach his avatar, or her avatar, how much they know. So it gives this whole, you get emotional feedback teaching something. So yet you have these children teaching an avatar how much they know. The avatar gets smarter. And the school knows exactly how little or how much they've learned, but there's a complete positive engagement. So when I've learned about this and I've met with them, I thought, well, maybe they can do that in school. How can they help people change the way they think about money? So we went with Katie, came down with a team to Cape Town, and they developed what they call a play frame for us to help people look at their own financial behavior in an engaging way, in a way that definitely not a spreadsheet, in a way that can get people to understand why and how they make decisions. Okay, I know that we don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to rush through one of the key things that Katie helped us understand, and it's the notion of productive failure. That as human beings, we learn far quicker and far more by being engaged in something, making a mistake, fluffing it and learning and keep on getting better. For example, is like how we learn to surf. You know, you don't send a kid into the monster waves the first time they learn to surf. You go in the Mickey Mouse waves and you try it out. You graduate, fall over a couple of times, you get smarter, and ultimately you can ride the big waves. There's no difference in learning about our own financial decisions. So how do you unpack it in a way that is quite methodical but still fun and you can learn at small increments? So I'm just diving into how the thinking. So on the one hand, we've learned from the scientific side about behavioral economics and how we are wired to be dwarfed when it comes to financial decisions. We've been exposed to work with people like the Institute of Play that made us understand how you can unpack an interaction in an engaging way if you do it playfully. So how does 22/7 work? Once you log in the 22/7, it goes into the cloud, it collects all your information from your various bank accounts, from your credit cards, from your store cards, all into one secure space, and it will download it into your browser, your smartphone, or your tablet. What does it look like? So let's just can run through of some of the areas in the service. All your information on one page, you have savings accounts, check account, and your credit card all pulled into one place. You were able to look through it like a normal bank statement, but for once you can actually search like you do on the Excel spreadsheet, but you can have all your accounts in one place as opposed to just your F&B account or your apps account. So you have a singular view of all your transactions in one place. That's quite cool, right? But that's actually not so cool. Even if you can search on transaction, you can search on bank, it's actually not so much better than you have at the present moment, right? So we thought, why don't we show it in a fundamentally different way using what we've learned in behavioral economics? So this is how you'll actually see your money in 2027. You'll have a singular view of all the money that comes in on a monthly basis, all the money that goes out. You can scroll through the previous months and have a very visual representation of how your money comes in and comes out. Quite scary, right? You click on to your money and it will show you exactly what those deposits are made up of. For instance, you can go and look at a certain category, automatically categorized your expenditure for you. You can drill into detail, it can show you what transactions the system pulled in to categorize that collectively. If the learning system wasn't smart enough, you can recategorize your transaction. System learns that all your future transactions. One vendor will then go to the category that you selected. And for those designers in here, our chief designer, Andre Swettendahl, is sitting in the back there. In the thinking behind this, but where this started is when we explained to him how the service worked. We started drawing circles on the board. So this is how money comes in. I said, well, why don't you just use that to show people? What we designed here is a way to make it interactive and easy for people to see what they've done historically. You know, another thing about behavioral economics, there's a strong principle that we all suffer from a thing called planning fallacy. That we all think we can do things quicker than it actually turns out, and we all think that it costs us less money than. Have you ever seen a projected business case that works out, or even a normal budget, right? So, and we keep on blaming things, but the fact is that's how life is. We can't predict everything that's going to happen. We can't predict how off we are going to be, but still, we've designed a planned view that is very different. Ultimately, what the service is aiming to do is to get you to understand what you actually are doing. And you can only start thinking of changing behavior if you know exactly what you have been doing. But the first interaction that we'll have in our service that is smartly designed, to my view, where it incorporates the fact that you can't plan all your expenses. It's much easier saying, what would happen if this service will show me where I'm spending a lot? And I only take 2 or 3 of those categories and see if I can be smarter with that, right? So we've got this ABM machine. It's called a bit more machine. And it will be able to, the service will show you the larger categories of your expenditure. It will make it easy to say, well, if I spent that amount of money last month, can I just take that and spend a bit less this month? And we give you a smart way of tracking this on an ongoing, daily, dynamic basis. As you can see, well, I set myself this target. It's almost like a game you play. Just made it easy. But the idea here is to have an engaging way for people to look at just looking at a small portion of their behavior. And the bizarre thing is if you see, wow, I can do this on 2 or 3 categories. The next step is to do a lot more. And again, it comes back to learning how to surf. You learn how to change your behavior in small steps. You engage in it in a way that is fun. And we believe we can get people to come up with more money. But it's not just that the UI is beautifully designed. It's this, the core thinking took us 3 years to get right. And yes, it's nice to say that we've worked with people like Dan Ariely and with Katie Say, but to translate that into a very simple, intuitive interface is unbelievably hard. But I'll tell you, when you get it right, it's shit, it's rewarding.